1. Welcome to the June 10th, 2026 regular business meeting of the Ashland Parks and Rec Commission. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lunt,
Here.
Commissioner Weiner,
Here.
Commissioner Bachman,
Here.
Commissioner Adams,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner.
Here.
Thank you. Third item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have minutes for the Park Commission study session of May 6th, 2026, and the Park Commission regular business meeting May 13th, 2026. Does anyone have any changes or additions? Seeing none, Chair asks for unanimous approval. Hearing no objection, both sets of minutes are approved. I have no additions or deletions to the agenda. Does anybody have something they want to? Okay. And that brings us to public forum, item number 5. Okay. We have 2 people that want to speak in public forum, and that's a separate item, and you'll speak. No, I have a sheet. It says it's for the bike trail.
I could fill out another sheet to speak at the public forum.
Sure.
You want me to speak first?
On a different topic? Public forums for stuff that's not on the agenda. Just fill out a sheet and we'll work you in third, okay?
May I speak on an item not on the agenda?
Public forum. Yes.
Should I do it now?
No?
No, because there's 2 other people.
So we have 3 people now. 2 of them are ready to go. If you line up on the wall by the podium there, and I believe that's on and ready to go. You'll have 3 minutes each to speak to your topic. And if you would identify yourself and which city you live in when you start, please. Those people are Aaron Goldman and Todd Lantry. Please go in the order I called you.
You need it? We can go in order.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
If we had a lot of people, I'd try to keep you in order, but no problem tonight.
Sorry about that. I'm Todd Lantry. I'm from Ashland, Oregon. I live in Ashland. I am here representing pool users, Daniel Meyer Pool. I'm a heavy pool user myself, as one of the commissioners knows for sure. He's got a son on the high school swim team, which I'm the head coach of the high school swim team. And also, I'm president of the Rogue Valley Masters Swim Club and one of the certified pool operators and lifeguards at the pool. I don't get paid. I volunteer my time when we lease the pool from the Parks Commission in the city in the wintertime, which I wanted to thank everyone on the commission and the park staff for allowing us to do that, and also for a number of updates and minor fixes to the pool in the last 6 to 8 months, something like that. Number 1 was the heater broke in the fall, just as we were going into the high school swim season, and that got fixed really quickly, so we really appreciate that. I just wanted to call these things out just to reiterate how valuable the pool is to so many users in town, from the water polo club to the swim teams to the adult swimmers. The heater is being used right now, obviously, when it's publicly open, so it's great that that's functional. The heater elements finally rusted away and were replaced, and now it works fantastic. The new backstroke flags, they were sorely needed. They were held together by duct tape previously. We got new cranks on the wheel for the tarps on the cart that holds the tarps. Those are huge, having a crank on each end. They were also old and falling apart, so new ones were fabricated by Hassel with some of the park staff working with them. Fantastic, makes it much easier to take the tarps off the pool, which has to be done every day because they're covered overnight for the heat retention. Updating the lane line reel, it needed new casters. It was falling apart. The bolts were falling apart. The welds were falling apart. As happens around pools, things rust and start to fall apart. So that got fixed. That was fantastic. The showers in the locker rooms, we were down to 2 to 3 showers functional in each locker room prior to the staff working with a plumbing company, a contractor, I don't know which one, to replace the showers in the main part of the locker room. So now there's 6 showers in each locker room, which is fabulous, and they're adjustable, so you can adjust the spray because they're hot, which is also wonderful. And just the responsiveness of the staff when we have an issue or if something needs to be cleaned up has been fantastic. Moving on to something that's not quite as fun is just a reminder that I think the pool liner that was put in 2 years ago, fabulous improvement for the pool. You know, the bottom was kind of coming apart. The tile was falling off. It's a great improvement, but now it's over 2 years old. And my understanding is, and you all know better than I do, but I think that it's about a 5-year warranty on that liner. And we're 2.5 years into that liner. So what's going to happen at the end of that warranty? Hopefully the liner keeps being functional, but I'm hoping that due to all these users, I mean, look at the beautiful pictures up there for summertime at the pool. Is that time up?
Yeah, you're going to need to.
I hope there's a plan to keep moving with the pool. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Aaron Goldman. I live in Ashland and also grew up in Ashland. I think it's been well covered, the sort of timeline of the pool project, and I know y'all are very familiar with that, so I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my personal experience as a user of the Daniel Meyer Pool. My family moved here in 1990 when I was 8 years old, and being a kid who knew no one, the Daniel Meyer Pool was the first social environment that I got to enjoy moving here in the summer before school started. So it provided a perfect place for my family to go during the day. My sister and I both learned how to swim at Daniel Meyer, and over the years used it. My mom was an avid lap swimmer and still is now. She's 75 years old and still swims laps almost every day at Daniel Meyer. And later on, after we had the SOU pool, so that's where my water polo team trained. But once we lost that, Daniel Meyer became the only place for aquatic users in Ashland to gather. And after having learned how to swim there and have it provide a social environment for me and a really important developmental space for me and my sister, I then, after high school, ended up working there and teaching other kids how to swim as I had been taught. And for me, that generational support and the stories that wind their way through those consecutive generations of people learning how to swim and then paying it forward later potentially are an inextricable piece of a town like Ashland. And it would be a huge tragedy for me if we lost that due to something as small in the big picture as being unable to agree how to spend our money. And I now, just as a personal piece, a kid that I taught how to swim when she was 9 years old is now my wife and I's midwife. We're expecting our first child. And so we walked into that place and there was a familiar face, someone who I met 30 years ago as part of that generational cycle. So for me, there's the logistics and there's the sort of administrative piece of not only keeping the pool open, but I believe it really needs some improvement, and it's an opportunity economically and as a community to create a really special central space, but also it's a vehicle for those stories and those generational relationships. And so I just want to encourage us to keep that in mind when we're thinking about how to allocate our resources.
Thank you very much. Kate Hartzell.
First
First, I'm sorry about the misunderstanding. My ears don't work in that mask, and my grandchildren went to the pool today, so I'll throw that in there. I just wanted to make a quick note of appreciation. We've gone through twice in the last month a situation where we would see a sign posted that glyphosate was going to be sprayed. In each situation, I reached out to Director Dials, and it was immediately taken care of. And I just want to express my appreciation for that. It was real stressful for not only me, but other people at the Night Lawn. And that kind of leadership was really important. And I just want to, again, thank you.
Thank you for that. We have two other speakers coming up, and there'll be one speaker speaking on our first two items in the business section. Still time for other people to ask to speak in any of those later items. Okay, we have nothing on the consent agenda, so now we are on to business, item 7, and the first item on there is a public hearing on the employment. This is going to serve as a public hearing. This is not a formal public hearing like the council does, but this piece is serving as a public hearing, this item, on the employment of the Parks Director. Job description, potential action. And helping us through that one tonight is our Deputy City Manager, Jordan Brooklyn. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Commission. And Chair Bachman, if you don't mind, it is very hard to hear you in the audience, so if you can pull your microphone closer, it'll help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback.
Oh, you made me slide. Look at that. 2 slides. Thank you. Well, hello again this evening, you all. We met last month and just talked about the process, typical process for hiring a Parks Director. And the first stop in that journey was to update a job description to provide as the basis for the recruitment effort and for getting the right person in place. So before you all is a much changed job description, much changed in writing style, but hopefully not so in content. And I want to say thank you to the 3 commissioners, the one who reached out with comments, written comments, and then 2 others that shared verbally some ideas and changes. So before you all tonight is, what I'm going to call the second draft, based off of those changes and feedback I heard, but by no means has to be the final draft. So if you all as a body would like to make any additional changes, spend any additional time, you are welcome to. But part of our process to allow you all to meet an executive session to interview candidates is to make sure the public has a chance to comment on the job description. So tonight, before you all deliberate, I will ask Chair Bachman to open a public hearing, see if any speakers would like to speak, and then close it when the speaking's all done, so that you all can make sure that you have some formal feedback, if need be. And with that, I will hand it back to the chair.
Okay, so I should open the public hearing.
Unless there's any questions from the commission
Clarifying
ahead of time.
questions first. Anything for the Deputy City Manager? Okay, then I'll open the public hearing on the description. And we have, I don't think we have anybody signed up for that particular item, but there are 2 items tonight. This one is
The job description,
just the description.
correct.
Okay. You would like to comment? Oh, this is Kate Hartzell again, and once again, we know where you live and we know your name, so.
When I was on the council and involved in local issues, quite some years ago, I was involved in a number of hirings, so I understand the importance of leaving the search criteria fairly open, gives you some flexibility. I noticed a few of the things in it when I looked it over tonight that harken back to what we went through last year, where as a person who does community garden and then other activities that were threatened under the guise of the budget, I asked what the budget for the community garden was, and that was when I learned that we don't really have, Parks doesn't really have program budgets at that level. I'm hoping that this group of commissioners is willing to remedy that. And one of the ways I think you can do it is by hiring somebody with that kind of expertise. So I think, landscape architect is mentioned in the job description, or other types of expertise that you would bring in, and it could be the right person with those kind of expertise, but I think it's really important that the hiring process include people's skill and experience with developing program budgets, since you may have some, but you don't have all of them down, and then also tracking that money, and working with staff to make sure that they have the skills and the ability to do that. I also wanted to say that I don't know what the last director was paid, but in looking over this job description, the softness of it could result in hiring somebody who's making a really large salary with limited experience, the 9 years and the 4 years and that kind of stuff. So I just would ask you to please pay attention to that. And then finally, the piece about values is on there. I wasn't involved in what happened with the last director. What I heard, second or third hand, was that they had very strong interests in seeing certain activities kind of supersede others. And I think you can hire. I think there are people who have an ability to balance their own, interests with the broader interest that the parks has developed over the years. So I would ask that you kind of watch for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think, anybody else want to speak? Okay, we can close that public hearing and move on. We have 3 possible avenues here tonight. Well, on this one, maybe just 2. 2, we can adopt this with or without additional, with changes or amendments, or we can table it till our next regular business meeting. And does anybody want to speak to those 2 items? Commissioner Weiner.
Thanks, Chair. I did review the draft, and I will say that I do like the structure. We were just presented some additional edits this evening, and I feel like I would need to spend some more time with that, digesting it and understanding and interpreting. Additionally, I'll just say in reading through the original job description, I think some of the, I don't know if I would call them omissions, but I'd say there's still some ambiguity in the role sharing and oversight sharing with that particular position that I think led to some of the challenges we had over the past year and a half. And I feel like if we can get that really clear, who oversees what and how that gets done, and really clarified within the job description, that'll help us moving forward. I think it's in here. A lot of the stuff is in here, but the clarity on where the oversight and where the authority comes, and so I'd like to see a little more work on it personally.
And I'll just, to be clear, I believe Commissioner Weiner is speaking to the dual reporting role with the commission and with the city manager's office. Commissioner Gardner, and then Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Chair. So I would just say that the main reason why Deputy City Manager undertook the process of rewriting the job description is really because the job has changed since the last hire that was made by this commission. So it was due and appropriate to revamp that. And then in the leadership group that we had, we looked at the old job description and some other appropriate job descriptions to try to find out if there was, a better format really to get everything we needed in the new job description and cover what Commissioner Weiner just mentioned, which is this dual reporting that was not part of any hire that we'd ever done before. So I just wanted to interject that information.
Thank you, and I'll make another clarifying comment. The city enacted ordinance 3248 not too long ago, and that's where the language comes from that's changing a lot of this, what's in this job description. And it created the department finally formally after 120-something years. And it was an important step, and we're still working on how to implement it, but that's all I'll say about that right now. Commissioner Lunt.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a really good first draft. And it was a big job, and I think it really needs some more work. In some areas, there were some omissions, maybe they're just my pet peeves, but there was nothing in there about the specifics of the staff reports, for example. And anyway, but in some of the language, I didn't understand what it meant. So in some cases, I just made a comment saying, I don't know what this means. And in some cases, I actually tried to put in, this, by the way, is my my submittal. And some of it is just trying to clean up language. Some of it is, I think things are too complex. In some places, I just didn't understand. So I'd really like to see some more work on this. And although I don't think everything that's in here necessarily needs to be in a final draft, I think this is a good takeoff point for improving it.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams.
Yes, I think the only thing that I would say is I think we clearly need to table this for tonight because I wouldn't be sure what we were voting on. I didn't have as many specific concerns as Commissioner Lott. I thought it was, as you said, actually a great first draft. I've had 5 minutes while we're talking about other things to look through this. I think some of the concerns on here are reasonable, and it's not a done draft as presented. So I think pretty clearly we need to table so that we can vote on an actual product.
Would you like to make a motion?
I will hold on that motion so Commissioner Lunt may speak.
Commissioner Lunt.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams.
Commissioner
Thank you,
Lunt.
Chair. I just wanted to clarify what tabling, because for me, I don't want to see us just table it, period. I'd like to see this come back next month. And so table with a mechanism to get a revised draft by our next meeting.
Right, and the suggested motion is I move to table to the next regular business meeting. And then the process to improve, I'll ask for help for those who don't understand the city's hierarchy, deputy director and the director's office, city manager's office, I'll get this right eventually, oversees HR. And so she's taken this one on at a higher level than the HR staff because it's a big deal for an elected body to be considering hiring somebody.
Quick clarification, I am not overseeing HR at the moment, but I am working directly since their work plate is so full. I am stepping in to work with you all for this job description. My process request would be, since Commissioner Lunt has shared their edits, have you been able to share this electronically with the commission yet, Commissioner?
I've shared it with staff.
Okay, perfect. So what I would love to do is be able to have the rest of this week to look at these and respond to the questions that are asked in the document, and I'll just keep track changes on. And then I'll email it out to the commission as a BCC for you all to review and provide comments as you're reviewing it back to me, with the hope that I can have a more polished version ready for the July meeting for hopefully either final adoption or more edits, but minor edits at that point.
Thank you. That's a great process. And it keeps us well within the bounds of public meeting law. Commissioner Adams.
Ready to make a motion. I move to table the Parks and Recreation Director job description to next meeting per the process outlined by Deputy City Manager
Let's make that a date certain thing. That's July what? I'm looking at staff now.
8th, July 8th.
8th, would you mind correcting that to specific date?
I move to table the Parks and Recreation Director job description to July 8th, the next regular business meeting per the process outlined by Deputy City Manager Brooklyn.
Thank you. We have a comment from our city attorney's office. Okay,
I'll second.
second is Commissioner Weiner. Any, you want to comment? You want to, any more, say anything about? Okay, anybody else have anything to say? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Chair. So I was just curious, before I vote, so the screen that's in front of us right here, that wasn't in the packet. Did you just come up with this?
The red line,
No, right, what that we're looking at?
That's actually all.
Is this the next item?
It was copy and pasted from the packet. It was in the memo.
It
Those
was in
things.
the memo?
Yeah, these, yep.
Those questions?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Commissioner, it's just such a well-written memo that it just, I know, flowed so smoothly.
Those are the questions that need to be, that need to be brought up.
Okay, everybody clear on what the motion is? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Lant,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yes.
Commissioner Bachmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner.
Yes.
All yes. Motion is tabled.
Thank you. Until July 8th. Once back to the Deputy City Manager for item 2.
Commissioner Bachmann? Yeah, and so if I might just summarize, I think a helpful way to go about it is to just provide your comments to Jordan, and then she can then provide a draft that seems to be in consensus, so that we've, yeah.
Correct.
All right, you all are stuck with me for round 2 here. So this is a discussion that has come up amongst the leadership discussions, is really around an acting director versus an interim director, and what is the preference of the commission to have in place while you're going through the permanent director search. The memo outlines a little difference between what an acting director typically fulfills as and what an interim director does. You know, the biggest difference, I think, for acting director Rachel Dials is she currently reports to city manager Sabrina, whereas an interim director would report directly to the commission, as is more traditional with a public official that serves an elected body. The process, if you all would like to shift to an interim director, there is 2 pathways you can take. You can either select an internal interim director, or you can go for an external interim director. Typically, you empower the chair or the chair and the vice chair to be the one to work with staff to identify a potential individual. And then it would be the legal department and the chair and vice chair who then work on negotiating a contract. We do have a template contract for interim directors. They're pretty standard and typical. They happen a lot when it comes to municipal government. And so that's the general process. And ultimately, it'd be the commission that approves that contract. I went fast and not linearly. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Commissioner Lant?
Thank you, Chair. Under the proposed actions or motions, in the first paragraph, in brackets, it says insert name.
If I may speak a recommendation, I would recommend your acting director, Rachel Dials, as the internal person to fill the interim director role.
That's, I just want to make
Oh, yeah,
sure,
sorry.
I just want to make sure I was understanding that the way you were writing it. Thank you.
Correct. I didn't want to assume anything, but for the internal director, I would recommend acting director Dials.
Any other questions for Deputy City Manager? Commissioner Lant?
Ready for a motion?
Ready for a motion? I just want to be sure we're... Yes, ready for a motion.
I move to authorize the Parks Chair and Assistant City Attorney to work with Rachel Dials to draft an interim Parks Director contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Adams has seconded. Speak to your, would you like to speak to your motion? I'll use the whole sentence.
Thank you. I would just say that a couple things. One is, I don't really interpret the acting director the same way that it's been interpreted here. But given that that's the way it's being interpreted by at least part of the city, I think it's really critical that we move away from that, because it makes the lines of chain of command really muddy. And so I think it's really critical that we do that. And I think in terms of external versus internal, this is an interim position. We need to do it quickly. And we have a great candidate right here for that interim, someone who's already been doing the job. So I think it behooves us just to move forward with that approach.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams?
I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Lant. The purpose of this is to clarify the lines of communication, and we want to have it happen sooner or later. Everybody on this commission, I think, is dedicated to having a thorough process for the permanent director position, and it allows us to check this box quickly with an excellent candidate who's doing a great job, and should she accept the position, and then to focus that long-term attention on the permanent director.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to it?
Ask a question about the process, or is that past? Is that ship sailed?
Yeah, pretty much. This is the process. Yeah, no, that's a different conversation. We can have that one.
Could impact
Maybe just point of order, perhaps let the commissioner ask the question, see what our attorney says, and if they say it's not appropriate, then we don't have to answer the question. And if they say it is appropriate, then we could answer the question.
That works.
Just wondering, should an internal candidate move into that position, does that mean we would be then in need of backfilling the position that they stepped up from, and would that be done as part of this initial process, or would we not, would we be holding on that particular position?
That strikes me as an operational question. I don't know if I have the capacity to answer that, but it seems like everyone's doing fine now.
Yeah. Assistant City Attorney, do you mind if I answer that question, even though there are motions on the floor? Yeah. Okay, great. I will share, our typical interim contracts reserves rights to the position that interim candidate is in. So if a contract is negotiated, everyone agrees and signs on, Deputy Director Rachel Dials would retain her rights to that Deputy Director role once the permanent director is hired. If there are capacity issues, for example, where she needs more support as interim, there is the option in the vacancy savings of that position to use, but that would be an operational determination throughout the course of the interim role.
Thank you. Commissioner Gardner.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to make comment that I think it's ultimately important that we get our leadership set on an interim basis, and knowing that looking for the permanent director is going to be a longer process than we originally thought. So I think this is an appropriate and good move. Thank you.
Go ahead.
One other thought, which is we're doing concurrently a job description and moving forward with the getting an interim manager. Now, ideally, those would both come up at the July meeting. But I would advocate, even if we can't get the job description done, we'll be close. Our internal candidate is well-versed in what we're doing, and it'll be no surprise to her. And I see no reason why not having the job description completed should get in the way of completing the contract.
Yeah, I think that's fine on an interim basis and while this gets worked through. I mean, it's no surprise to anyone in our public meetings, kind of the goal of the commission and the goal of city to have job descriptions that match the duties. So I think that's fine in the interim while we work it out.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Lund,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yes.
Commissioner Bachmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner.
Yes.
All yes, motion passes.
Thank you. That takes us to item 3, which is the third quarter 2026 budget update. And Brandon Terry, who is our administrative coordinator, will present that to us. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. Brandon Terry, Administrative Coordinator. Okay. So I'm going to present the third quarter for FY26. And just a little bit more detail. I know in the last joint meeting with the council, you received an update, and this will just go a little bit deeper and just focus on parks. So we're doing third quarter personnel budget. In the third quarter, we spent 1.265 million, which is more than we've spent in the other 2 quarters. This is mostly, if not entirely, due to the, I'm sorry, I'm blanking, the position upgrades, comp and class, thank you, that was conducted, and the represented employees received their back pay in this quarter, and their back pay started from July 1st. This is also the quarter that the insurance rates change. So there wasn't, that's mostly where all the difference is coming from. And then in the balance, you'll see we're 75% through the fiscal year, but we have 32.6% left in personnel. Materials and services plus a little bit of capital outlay. In Q3, 455,000 was spent, and then we still have 291,000 in encumbrances, which are basically just contracts that are still open. And all of that 291 isn't likely to be spent this fiscal year. Most of it should be, but that is what we have on the books. Well, that's what we had on the books as of the end of Q3, which is March 31st. And we have, with that, we have about 25% left, so we're looking good in that area. This is the revenue for January, February, and March in the general fund. So the first column is FY24, FY25, and FY26. I include those just for comparison. In our last business meeting, when I gave the last update, I said that I didn't think we were probably going to fall short in our total revenue, since we would lose the usual January revenue from the ice rink. But I'm happy to report by just under $1,000, even with the ice rink, this is FY25, we took in about 42,000. There's no ice rink here. We still, in those 3 months, came out a little bit ahead than we were this time last year, and very well ahead in FY24. That's a lot to do with the golf course doing well. Facility rentals are up, and as has been usual for the last couple fiscal years, Senior Center does a lot of programming that is way up. You can just see the same period in FY24. So,
Just a quick question on the golf course. If we had the driving range up and going, how much would that have added into this?
I can't say for sure. I don't think it would be significant, but yeah, it's definitely revenue lost. So it would even be better.
Thank you.
And then this is basically just that same information. Each of these groups of numbers is the first quarter, the second quarter, and the third quarter. And just, it's been a pretty steady rise for the green line, which is FY26. So really, really good. And I think it really speaks to all the hard work that the people on the program side are doing. And then the last slide I have is for CIP. This gray part is the first 2 quarters, which we've already covered in other meetings. And then each of these months, each of these kind of blocks are January, February, and March. So it rose a little bit at the end of January, February, and then March. What contributed to these is food and beverage tax and interest, which you can see here in each group. February was a little bit different. You'll see miscellaneous income, 163,495. That's the insurance payment that we received for the damage at the golf course, what I believe is the initial insurance payment. So that is part of the CIP, but definitely dedicated to making the repairs for that. And then debt service is minus 136, and what that is 50,000 for Briscoe, debts, loans basically. 50,000 for Briscoe, 48,000 for the splash pad. Happy to report that is the final payment for the splash pad, and then about 38,000 for the Kaye. And the Briscoe last payment should be next fiscal year, and then Kaye should be the fiscal year after that. So 2 more years we'll be debt-free.
Great. Where's our interest income coming from?
Just the balance that we have in these accounts that's handled by the finance department, or handled by I assume a contractor for the finance department, but yeah.
So our idle
Yes.
cash that we're going to spend is earning while we're waiting. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Anybody have any questions? Oh, Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Chair. Brandon, could you go back to the last slide? So on the debt service, Briscoe School, what's the total yearly debt on that?
50,000?
Okay, and then Kaye was what? Kaye?
Kaye is 38,000. Well, we just paid about 37.5 thousand.
And were those both 10-year debt service?
Briscoe it's been 50,000. However it's structured, it's 50,000 every year. Kaye, I think, is longer back, maybe, but it's been more of like how you would see your interest payment personally. Like, it gets lower, it gets lower as you pay it off.
As you pay off.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Chair. One more question. Are you going to be doing any projections on, say, for what our next 5 years would look like for our CIP funds if the food and beverage tax is not renewed?
I haven't been tasked with that, and I'm certain that's something I could do in conjunction with the finance department to some extent to give an idea. But that hasn't come to me yet.
Commissioner Law, I think we would be working with Brandon and the finance department, with Bren in the finance department to get that information to the commission.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much again. And the next item is number 4, update on capital improvements projects, East Main Street Community Park Phase 1 and Hunter Park Tennis Courts, and acting soon-to-be interim Director Dials will take us through that one.
Thank you, Commissioner Bachman. So just a few updates tonight on our capital improvement projects. So for the Hunter Park Tennis Court rehabilitation, we did a bid solicitation around April 23rd. It closed on May 26th. We had one responsive bid, and that was Knife River Materials. The total for that, of their bid is $643,430, which is below the estimated cost of a little over $1 million. The grant that we got from State Parks is a 60-40 match. Our grant funds are reimbursed, and this is scheduled to go to council as a contract at their meeting on the 15th. Is there any questions on Hunter Park Tennis Courts?
So that's next Tuesday.
Correct.
To council. And so the process here is we probably maintain this in the CIP for that project until it's complete, and then the funds would be,
Correct.
if we come in, we don't have the usual increases, we'll end up with some capital, reprioritizing our projects with more capital.
Correct.
That's a good
Yes,
thing.
we will have some savings that we can reallocate to other projects.
Excellent. That's a lot of difference there. 360,000 or something. Commissioner Weiner.
Yeah, thanks. I like under budget. That's good. Did that bid include a lot of the sort of that peripheral drainage work? And there was, I recall, I'm thinking way back, and there was a lot of concern about drainage and having a recurrence of the cracking, and that there was something had to be done.
Yeah, it does
and-
include drainage, and it also includes the hitting wall on the back, reciting that and painting that as well. So that was kind of an add option that if we weren't sure how much money we were gonna, what the bids were gonna come in at, so. And that project is, after council approval, we will move forward with the contractor and set up a schedule, and that is scheduled to start probably in early August. So
And will be completed by year end.
it will be completed before year end, yeah. So probably October, November.
Great, thank you. Moving along.
So another project update for East Main Park. We were in conjunction with the Public Works Department. We had 2 bid solicitations for East Main Park. Again, one for public improvements, for the street side and the park entrance, and then the park improvements themselves. So for the park improvements, there were 4 responsive bids, and the lowest responsive was Outlier Construction at just over $2.1 million. The public improvements, the street improvements, received 3 responsive bids, and Pilot Rock Excavation was the low bid at just over $386,000. The total cost is below the estimated cost of 3.3, and this will go to council as well next Tuesday on the 15th for discussion and hopeful
And the
approval.
savings on
And
this?
this also is, and I don't think I didn't put this in here, but it is in the packet. This is grant funded as well. We will have to ask for an extension on this grant with State Parks. They are fully aware that we're going to be asking, and we're going to wait until we're a little bit further down the road. They said to wait till towards the end of the year before you ask for an extension. So they are aware that we're going to be asking.
And they're being very supportive, as I
Yes.
understand it.
Correct.
And it looks like this came in over $1 million under our original budget.
So it's like a little over 2.5 total. So
Okay, so it's not quite as good as I thought. Oh, I didn't add the 2 together. Got it. Great. When breaking ground?
it sounds like they're going to start, the street improvements will go first. So the public improvements will go first. And that will be probably August timeframe-ish. And that'll take approximately 3 months. And then after that, the park improvements will begin.
Is there trouble with weather during the winter on the park part?
No.
No? Excellent. Commissioner Adams?
We've had a lot of talk in this body about seems like universal preference to have a playground be part of phase one. Does the fact that this is significantly under budget give us capacity to move the playground into phase one, and how would we do that?
So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think what I would want to do is wait until these are starting in process, and I think come back to the commission with a proposed CIP that includes a playground, and then we can talk about what that would cost and that sort of thing. There is a playground that's proposed already in the master plan, and looking at that and seeing if the commission wants to prioritize that in the next. And we have been looking at grants as well. We did apply for one and we were not successful, but we continue to look for other opportunities besides just funding from the CIP.
Commissioner Lunt, then Commissioner Weiner.
Well, Commissioner Adams' question was mine, but I'd just like to reiterate that I think we should try to figure out how to do it as fast as possible. If we could do it concurrently, that would be ideal. So anyway, I think that's where ideas should be, looked at ideas that will do that. The other thing, it's a minor point, but some wise landscaper once told me that the least expensive landscape is the one that you don't disturb. And I think that's really makes a lot of sense in this case. There's a lot of land on this project that's either designated as natural area, as community garden, and there really, parks in the past have not necessarily been really aggressive about cordoning off these areas. And so I'm asking this time for that to happen before construction begins, so we don't have, excuse me, we don't have a situation like at Ashland Creek Park where the contractors came in for the sewer line. And now years later, that compaction still means it's nothing but star thistle. So this is just an opportunity to do a little stitch in time now to save 9 later on. So I'm really hoping that staff can do that. And ideally, they do it for the dog park area too, but that might be too much. But if it isn't, I'd like to see that also.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiner?
Yeah, and I suspect you've thought about this, but with the cost estimates coming under, I don't know if there's any way to amend, since we've got to file for an extension anyways, if there would be a way to amend the application to include it into this first budget cycle, and so that the entire budget could be applied on it. I'm sure you've thought through that, and I'll leave that to you.
For the playground, is that what you were, for the playground?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we would probably just want to go back out to bid on the playground specifically,
All right.
which we could do.
Okay, is that all for that item? Do you need any other direction? I don't think so. Keep going. Thank you. You have the next item, which is treatment of trees in Japanese garden, IPM policy 105 exemption action item.
So staff is seeking an exemption to preserve the pines in and around the Japanese garden in Lithia Park. This has been, I think this might be the third time staff has come to the Parks Commission to ask for an exemption within the Japanese garden. We currently have 9 pines of various species that we are asking for an exemption on. The current IPM policy does restrict the use of synthetic pesticides, and this policy does identify the Parks Commission, you must grant the exception to this. This is the map of the location of the pines. There are two just outside the garden, and the rest are inside the garden in the box area towards the back of the garden. And the action requested is below. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Who makes the recommendation in the organization? Do we have an arborist or?
Yeah, we have a staff member who is who works with the staff the contractor that worked on the garden, and they kind of identify the trees and talk about the trees and make the decision on. So it's in conjunction with the contractor and our arborist as well.
Thank you on that. Anybody else have a question of the? Oh, Commissioner Adams, then Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Chair. You talked about this last time this came up, but could you give us again a summary of sort of how this application works? What are the potentials for spread of the pesticides? My memory is
Yeah.
almost none, but if you could go through that, that would
So
be
this is
wonderful.
injected directly into the tree. It's like a syringe that's injected into the tree, and so it goes directly into the tree itself. So there isn't any spread anywhere else.
Thank you, Chair. It also says, so the soil injection is the same?
The soil injection,
Or is that a broadcast spray?
no, the soil injection is the same thing.
Okay. And the question I had was, is this similar to the process that was applied the last time this came to
Correct.
us?
Correct.
It's the same thing?
With the exception of the trees, they were different, a couple of them were a different species. They were Douglas firs last year.
And then last question, if I could, is this a yearly thing?
We've come to you the last 3 years, so I would expect that it could happen again next year.
Same trees?
No, there are different trees last year.
Thank you.
Did they improve?
Yes.
Oh, good. Commissioner Weiner?
And I may have missed it. That was actually a question that I had. One was that we've done it before. Did it help? It sounds like it did. But I don't see the products listed here. Is that sort of somewhere in the packet? There's a lot of stuff in this packet. Did I miss it? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think it was there.
I think I listed the name in the memo. Is it in the memo?
I suspect it's the same stuff that was used last time. I don't remember exactly what it was. With all the recent concern from the community about use of stuff,
Yeah.
it feels like we ought to probably at least have some understanding of what the product is.
On a treatment like this, do we have signage so that people know what we're doing?
We have not in the past, but we can if we need to.
Probably a good idea, out of abundance of caution.
We can do that.
Anything else? Okay, thank you for that item. Oh, I probably should, this is an action item. Motion?
Well, before I be ready for a motion, I just wanted to make an observation. And we live in really challenging times for plant life because of the climate's getting hotter, and there might be other factors that are also making it tougher for plants. But it's clear that these plants are not exactly adapted to this area because we're having to every year do treatment to keep them healthy. And so one way of looking at it is, well, we just keep doing that. Another way of looking at it is maybe these aren't the right plants. And I think the problem is that that pines are part of the design, and pines, probably any pine they put in there just about, actually they might be able to put in things like pinyon or bristlecone, but most pines that they put in there are going to not be well suited for that environment. So the options are keep applying herbicide in a limited way and in a relatively safe way because it's injected into the plants and not into the external environment. But it's either continue to do this, apply herbicides, or to think about changing the design to plants that are more suitable for this environment. Thank you.
That's a long-term challenge as the climate change continues for all the parks, but it should be part of our long-term planning. I agree. Commissioner Adams.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you.
I move to approve the exemption of policy number 105, integrated pest management, for the treatment of 9 pines in and around the Japanese garden with a basal bark application of pesticide.
A second. Commissioner Gardner.
I'll second.
Either of you care to speak to the motion?
I think Commissioner Lant has a good point, and I think especially in a highly horticultural area such as this, there's a variety of different values at play. I think we want to do what we can to preserve the tree species that we have there. I think this is a limited application with little to no potential for negative environmental impact, and that, of course, in the future, as plants, like all living things, eventually die, we should be looking towards more resilient species for the current climate and other ecological realities that they will face.
Thank you. Commissioner Gardner, care to comment on your second? Anybody else? Commissioner Weiner, and then one more for Commissioner Lant.
Yeah, I will just say I do have some concern not having all the information regarding the products being used. That being said, because it's the same stuff that we used last time, we had an extensive conversation about it. I'm really just saying this so that the folks that might be out listening sort of understand why I'm going to be supporting this. We extensively looked at these products previously, and also I want to be clear: it's not an herbicide; it's a pesticide, and it's not spread airborne. So I think in this particular case, I think I'm going to be okay supporting it, but really think it's important for us to make decisions and for the public to understand what we're using to have all that information included in the packet.
Thank you. Commissioner Lant.
Yeah, I think this is a balancing act, and I'm just going to come down on the other side in this particular case. I think my fellow commissioners are reasonable, but I think a reasonable case can be made for voting against this. And I think ultimately the environment's going to vote against doing this because the plants are going to die, and then hopefully we'll do something more appropriate.
Thank you. Anything else? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yes.
Commissioner Bachmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Lant.
I listened this time. Yes. I was going, sorry, no.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We have the last item, number 7. Nope, I'm wrong. Long agenda tonight. We have the 6th item, which is the park walk plaque for front of Lithia Park, and I think that one belongs to President Mike Gardner, who is president of the Ashland Parks Foundation, but is also a commissioner. So you're going to present from here, right?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll just present from here. So in April, I presented an option for a sidewalk medallion commemorating the Lithia Park Nature Walk that's been serving the public for over 30 years. And as the Ashland Parks Foundation does, we have a donor that wants to donate the plaque. And I've been in conversation with Parks Department. So today I'm just giving you an update. The donor is Tom Foster, who's led walks for most of those 30 years. And he's going to work through the Parks Foundation to make a donation. We'll help him get the plaque made, or the medallion made. And then, as it's noted in the report, then Parks has agreed to install the medallion in the park sidewalk near the entrance of Lithia Park sometime this fall after the busy season is over. So I'm bringing this to you today for action. Hopefully we can approve this, and then the Parks Foundation will move forward with working with the donor to get the plaque, and then present the plaque to the Park Department for installation.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions for President Gardner?
Thanks, Chair. Yes, Commissioner Gardner, I thought that we had talked about having a mock-up to present to the commission before taking action.
Well, actually, is there another? So that item on the left is what it is going to look like. It's going to be the logo of Parks Department and logo of the Pacific Northwest Museum of Natural History with the verbiage that I brought to you the last time.
Follow up, please. And it's going to be rectilinear, so it's going to basically be just like what we see there.
You know, I have a preference for making it round, but I'm still negotiating with the donor. He's thinking of it being linear.
Thank you.
Commissioner Adams?
Thank you, Chair. Can you talk a little bit about I loved the Northwest Natural History Museum when it was here, and it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Can you talk about the thought process? I mean, I know that Tom had a lot of connection to that project as well, but when we're thinking about an asset for the city, the idea of including the logo from a museum that doesn't exist anymore, why we would do that?
So the reason why it's been incorporated into this medallion for the park walks is because there wouldn't have been any park walks without the Pacific Northwest Museum of Natural History. The individuals that started the museum and worked that project through were actually the ones that initiated the park walk idea, and all the original volunteers that performed the walks were associated with the museum, and decided that that was a good way to introduce the locals and tourists in town to the beauty of Ashland, and incorporating using Lithia Park as an extension of really what the Natural History Museum was kind of promoting in the area. So that's the reason for that. It's historic in its connection with the Park Walk program itself. And I guess you could say there wouldn't have been a Park Walk program without them.
Commissioner Lunt?
Are we still on questions, or is this?
Still on questions? If there are any, okay. Then I'm open, the chair is open for a motion.
I've got a comment that I'd like to make first. I just don't think that's particularly aesthetic, the rectilinear. I think that I agree that more circular would be great. Although if you did it circular, I don't see how you could put both the Parks logo and the heron in the same thing. But maybe some artists could do that. But it just, to me, it's the way it's laid out there is pretty uninspiring. And whereas on the right, although it doesn't have nearly as much verbiage, and verbiage really does get in the way of things, but the heron from the museum logo, Pacific Northwest Museum, that really, it's a pretty strong aesthetic statement. And I hope that however this ends up, that it is a strong aesthetic statement. Not to say that all the other ones around town are all that strong, but this is in Lithia Park, and I think attention should be made, really be paid to doing a really aesthetically strong job.
So if I could respond to that.
Please.
If the commission doesn't want to approve the installation at this time, my next step was to hire a graphic designer to come up with a final proof. And if the commission needs to see that final rendition of what I think would be appropriate there, I'm fine with delaying it. It's just something that it's going to be done anyways. So we can do that.
Do you want to set July 9th as a date where we would bring this back?
Sure. I can probably get artwork done by then.
It would actually be July 8th.
Thank you. Well, do we have a motion to table and with a specific date? Commissioner Lant?
We need a motion, correct? Yeah. I move to table this until our next meeting, July 8th, when we will get better representation of what the plaque will look like.
Commissioner Weiner?
I'll second that.
Anybody else with a comment? I just I'll throw my aesthetic values in here, such as they are, and I also like the round approach, if you can go there. It's just, kind of fits what's going on around town. I mean,
Yeah.
this railroad park plaque is a great model.
Yeah.
Something like that. Roll call vote.
Well, it can't,
I keep
the
thinking
motion maker.
I'm not that rushed or anything.
If this wasn't Lithia Park, I don't think I would have even brought that up. But I think this is just another example of where I want to make sure that we're paying special attention to our special park.
Got it. Thank you. Speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of some sort of a medallion, some sort of a notation of this really valuable thing. But we have to see what it is. I mean, we can't.
Yeah. Commissioner Adams.
I would agree. We had something come up a couple of years ago where someone was talking about doing a sculpture in the front of the park, and we were sort of presented this idea of I think whimsical was a word that came up, and it was going to be 13 feet tall, and it sounded really neat, and it was sort of like, well, it's the front of Lithia Park, so we actually need a design in order to be able to say whether or not we're going to do it. And obviously this is, what we have is closer, but yeah, I think you're going to get full support from this commission once we have the design, and it's not going to be wasted time to have the artist do it.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yes.
Commissioner Bachmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Lant.
Yes.
Items tabled.
Thank you. And now, item 7, our last business item for information only, is the proposed Lithia Park. Read this whole thing. Proposed Lithia Park East Hillside Mountain Bike Trail public input schedule specifically. The acting director is looking for feedback on this schedule for trying to get feedback from everybody across the spectrum in Ashland before we consider action. So why don't you walk us through your idea?
Sure. So back in November, the Trails Advisory Committee made a recommendation to take the Lithia Park East Hillside Mountain Bike Trail, which is renamed temporarily right now. In full transparency, we want to make sure that the public really understands where this trail is going to be, and that is specifically a mountain bike trail. So this is the temporary name of the trail while we go through this process. So the Trails Committee is going to be making a recommendation to the Parks Commission on this trail. They will be coming to a representative from the who's proposing the trail will be coming to the Parks Commission at a study session on August 5th. That it will be presented only for discussion and public comments at that meeting. We also recommend an open comment period from July 22nd through September 2nd, where we have a press release, we have information on our website on ways to give public comments. This could be include emailing the Parks Commission via the website and attending the public upcoming meetings. We have proposed the Parks Commission at their regular business meeting on September 9th to take potential action on the proposed trail. And we also are proposing that the trail itself be marked so the public knows where the trail is from August 3rd through September 3rd with an on-site tour to be determined with the group proposing the trail. We would also have signage on near the trail that would show this is a proposed trail, kind of like what happens when you have a planning action that's going to the Planning Commission. We would have signage that would say this is a proposed trail. So that is our proposed plan from Parks and Recreation. We want the public to have as much chance as possible to give input, and we have already received quite a bit of input on the trail that we are keeping in a file. A lot of you have seen the emails that have been coming in. We are keeping those as record, and they will be part of the process moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Hartzell, you wanted to speak to this topic. I don't know, this topic is just about the public disclosure schedule, not about a general comment. Do you still want to make a comment on this, or? Okay. Why don't you do that right now before we ask questions and work on this a little bit? 3 minutes as usual.
Thank you. The suggestions that I have tonight on the proposal are reflective of what happens in the community when you have a special interest come in and propose something for kind of a crown jewel, in this case. You saw it with the Japanese garden. And I think it's in the best interest of the community, and certainly you all, to try to do it in such a way that you lower the pressure and the stress that people feel when they do want to engage. So anytime you do a public process in this summer, you're at a disadvantage. You have a bit of a double-edged sword here in that summer's great because you can go out and walk the ground, so that's great. It also means people are on vacation and they're busy with all that kind of stuff. So in light of that, what I would like to do is I went out with somebody after work last week who has studied the maps, and we walked what we thought was kind of the proposal. And what I realized is it's not really clear. What I would propose is mark it starting this month, June 15th, if you can get the staff to do it. And I realize there's some strategic kind of issues with that, but get it mapped as soon as possible. Because what you're doing is you're proposing something to the community that's not visible. And if they care, they want to go out and look at what the implications are, what the route is. Does that make sense? What are the impacts going to be? So I would do that, and I would do it in such a way that you leave it marked until you do a decision on it. So September 9th. Present a map. This person that I was with this last week was kind of going from this map to that map when they were both not jiving up with each other, and there were no landmarks, and we were looking at red paint on trees and finding some and not others. So please present a map with landmarks and with ways that people can actually follow it and track what's being proposed. You're going to lower the stress level that way. And maybe get some converts. There's something implied about open comment from July 22nd to September 2nd that I think you can alleviate by saying open comment now, like as Rachel says, she's getting comments now. Just open it up so that people don't feel like, oh, I can't comment until this point. I think you want more information and more questions sooner than later. I'd love if the parks could produce more unbiased information. The proposal that I read tonight is a sales job, and that's fine. That's what they're interested in doing. But I have a lot of questions, and they don't get answered in that proposal. And the Parks Department has a responsibility to make sure that everybody knows the implications of it. I would suggest, if you can, do a question and answer page online so that you could receive questions, and if you get a question that you can easily answer, post that back up there. Really an engagement process. Conduct a couple of tours. You've seen my emails to each of you asking if you could take us on a tour. And I would suggest those tours be advertised not as debates, and not as sales jobs. Just go out, walk it, show people what's being talked about, answer questions, and get people on the ground. Engage expanded stakeholders. I noticed in your proposal it said they engaged some stakeholders. Who is that? Other stakeholders are the hikers and other people who are out there. So I would ask you to go beyond that. Fund an engineering analysis for stabilization and erosion. Some of us were here in the 97 flood. That was our watershed coming down on us. Let's make sure that Lithia Park isn't part of that next time. What is the impact on walking trails? I have no idea. I was out there. I really don't know. What will happen, what will not happen in the Parks Department and on the park system if this does? So $30,000, we know cost overruns. Where is that money coming from, and what are the trade-offs? So I think that needs to be out in public as soon as you can make it. Impact on trees, impact on city insurance, impact on parking. What are the enforcement issues? I tend to know mountain bikers like speed, and they like that downhill gravity, and they like kind of creating their own trails. In the proposal, they're called volunteer trails. They're called other things in other places. Who's going to patrol that? It's not just for young people and beginners. The proposal itself talks about other bikers coming down it to kind of get conveniently down to certain establishments in town. How's that going to jive with beginners? I know you've talked about visibility. That's important. Is that going to be enough? What alternative sites have been considered? If we need a downhill, easy beginner route, did somebody look at Strawberry Hall? Are there other areas that were evaluated by other stakeholders? I hope that the fire marshal is looking at that. Increased human activity up there. And yeah, I think that's all I got. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions for Acting Director? Or general discussion? Commissioner Adams.
I had a similar question about the August 3rd as the start period for the marking and the walks. I would particularly love for people to have the opportunity to see where the trail would be prior to the August 5th study session. I think that the 2 days isn't enough, so I'd love to see that date moved up.
Thank you. Commissioner Lunt?
I don't see any downside to just do what Citizen Hartzell was suggesting, to have just open up for comments now. As she pointed out, it really is already open, so don't discourage anyone by letting them think that it's not open.
Thank you. Commissioner Gardner, then Commissioner Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. You know, so I've walked most of the trails in this section of Lithia Park. It seems like it would be tough to go off trail and find the routes, but I think it would be important to at least mark the hiking routes where the conflicts are, just so people could kind of get a sense of where the trails are going. I think I don't, maybe I would ask Acting Director Dials, how would we mark this trail?
So the plan was, when we mark the trail, is to have one of our staff and the group that's proposing the trail mark it together. And mostly we're trying to use less intrusive things like irrigation flags and things like that would mark the area. So that was what we were thinking, and then putting a sign on each side of the trail, probably somewhere up top as well as below, that would mark the trail with signage and as proposed. So.
Great, thanks.
Commissioner Weiner?
Thanks, Chair. So one of my roles is to be on the fire, whatever it's called.
Forest lands.
Forest lands, wildfire reduction. Anyways, so they looked at this. We looked at this pretty closely, and I just want to mention I have concerns about people just sort of trudging through, trying to find where the trail might be presently. There are a few pockets of some somewhat rare or more delicate plant species there. The trail proposal has gone to great lengths to avoid those particular areas. And so sticking to, right, so having it be a guided scenario where we can actually avoid some of those higher sort of susceptible areas. So I discourage people to just go sort of, there's poison oak up there, there's other stuff up there. I think it's less than ideal to go off trail trying to find this particular trail until it's well marked and can be guided through there.
Thank you. Do you have some direction there to make some changes?
Direction I'm hearing is to move up the date for the signage and the marking of the trail to as soon as possible, which I feel like could happen within the next few weeks. And to mark conflicts between pedestrians and bikes as well as we can, to open up the comment period now, and to offer, which we were planning on doing a guided tour in conjunction with the trail proposer.
Commissioner Adams.
I would agree with all of that other than the word conflicts. These are trail crossings, which do not necessitate conflicts. We have a number of these in the watershed, and they generally do not cause conflicts. Interactions potentially, but people aren't getting hurt at trail crossings.
Intersections.
And we will plan on doing some targeted press releases and things like that during the process, just so people are reminded that they can see the trail, comment on the trail, those sorts of things.
Great. Commissioner Gardner?
Thank you, Chair. So I would just ask that we put in the look ahead that you give us an update next month, maybe on how those things have progressed, so we can stay on top of it.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll just round that out with every time we get together, anything that's happening on this project, on this proposal. Anything else? Okay, I think that'll get us going. We have Acting Director's report up next.
Thank you, Chair Bachman. So definitely summer is here. The pool opened last week on June 3rd. Swim lessons started on the 5th. The Garfield Park splash pad opened on Memorial Day weekend. We had some hiccups with it's called a rainwater valve, but that was fixed very quickly before the weekend. So that is up and running well. The water quality alert that was in effect last weekend has been lifted, so the Lithia Park Playground is open for wading again. Suleiman Shelton, our volunteer and event coordinator, kicked off this week with high schoolers from around the area in Lithia and North Mountain Park, doing their service with the Youth Conservation Corps. So that's happening this week in both Lithia and North Mountain. Lithia Park played host once again to the Ashland High School graduation this last Friday, June 5th. There were, I think I saw pictures, literally thousands of people, which happens every year. It's always fun to see that. We had some staff members who had some kids graduating, so that was exciting. This Saturday is the cookout for seniors and their families at Hunter Park, and that is co-sponsored by the Senior Services Division as well as the Police Department. So it's from 11:30 to 1, and if you are planning on going and you haven't RSVP'd, please do. The Bee City is having a pollinator party at North Mountain Park on June 20th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can stop by anytime during that time period. We kick off the summer concerts this coming Monday, the 15th. This one's hosted by Epic Ashland with the band Dead Floyd, starting in the park at 6 p.m. The Folk Collective kicks off their summer concert series with the band Fruition on June 29th at 6 p.m. in the park as well. Salt and Fire, which is our new golf concessionaire, is now serving food at the golf course. So I've heard they make a killer bacon cheeseburger, so might want to stop in. Last week I sat in on with the Rogue River Restoration Council, Scott Howell, who you heard from in June, and we met with the planning department, and his first year of the project has been approved, and there's some things that we'll be working through for the years after this one, moving forward, some things that we have to do in conjunction with Scott that we will take care of in order to meet the permit requirements. And we are seeking applications to fill 2 vacancies on the Trails Advisory Committee. The recruitment is open now through July 9th, and it's on the city website. You can fill out the form. It's really simple and quick. And again, that will be available through July 9th, and then we'll bring some things back to the chair of the Parks Commission. And I do have one more thing that I didn't put on the schedule. The first Coffee and Conversation is coming up at Railroad Park on June 23rd from 1 to 2:30 p.m. A city manager attends, as well as at least 2 city councilors. Parks commissioners are invited. So if you'd like to attend, please let me know. I will be there representing Parks and Recreation. And if you're interested, sounds like Rick wants to go. Okay, Rick. And yes.
Commissioner Adams.
I just had a question. Since the, contrary to some of the emails that we've gotten, the Trails Advisory Committee is not 100% mountain bikers. It actually represents a variety of user types. What user types are the departing advisory committee members? And so what are we looking for?
Nancy's going to answer this question because she emailed me earlier and now I can't remember. So Nancy, go ahead.
So the 2 vacancies, one was at large and the other was representing pedestrians.
Thanks for that
Commissioner
question.
Gardner.
Yeah, I would just like to encourage, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to encourage commissioners to sign up for the Coffee and Conversations if you're able to. I went to at least 3 of them last year. Good conversation with individuals. I know Dorinda, I think, sent out a request to, if you're available or have an interest in going to actually sign up so they know they have some representation there. But it's an interesting hour and a half.
Thank you.
Yeah, I understand.
Anything else for that item? Okay, the next item is number 9, and that is anything else from commission staff, liaison reports, etc. Commissioner Adams.
I'm willing to search for a second for this, but the presentations tonight made me think that it might be time to bring the pool back to a study session. I don't think we're anywhere near a decision on it, but it's good for us to keep talking about it.
I was thinking the same thing, so we'll get that, think of where to work that in, but yeah, we do need to keep that in front of our, or in our minds, and as we go into our budget planning and set our priorities, we'll definitely be talking about that. It's a large item, and it's we can't walk away from the pool ever, in my opinion, but that's a personal opinion. Okay, upcoming meeting dates. The Park Commission regular business meeting on July 8th here at 6 o'clock. Ashland Senior Advisory Committee, July 13th at the Senior Center. That's at 3:30. Trails Advisory Committee on July 15th at the Grove, 5 p.m. Recreation Division Advisory Committee, July 16th at the Grove, 3:30. And the Park Commission study session on August 5th will be right back here at 6 o'clock. That's the end of the agenda, so meeting adjourned.